Good. I'm glad to know that. I'll ask him for it. I don't make that decision. I just say that.
Sitting back.
While the family is taking their seats, it might be a good time to silence your cell phones. You can have them so. It's nice to see so many familiar faces. I was able to serve 2 congregations in Denver, so I've known the Tenenbaums in many different ways. And it's just sad to lose someone that we all love so much. I'm going to start with the 23rd song. Small David, Adonai Rohi Lo Echson, Binotesh Yarbitze, Amen, Yenale. Nafshi Yeshua Yancheni v'magletze Ha'elema Shadu Gama ki elech V'getzal mavet Lo irara Ki ata imadi Shirdecha U'mishanetecha Heima Yenachamuni Ta'arov lebanai Shulchan Neged Surah Tisha Ta'ashem El Roshi Kasir בשענתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
So for Psalm 23 together in English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. Guideth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord. Our God and God of our ancestors, our rock and our redeemer. The mysteries of life and death are beyond human understanding. We are perplexed and overwhelmed, and pain and anguish befall those whom we love. In sorrow, confronted by death, which has taken Allan Tenenbaum from our midst, we feel our own frailty. Like delicate flowers, we flourish for a day. O Lord in heaven, strengthen those who mourn, Allan. Help them to look beyond this moment to realize that death cannot destroy the bonds of love. Sustain them with the knowledge of our faith that you never abandon souls to the grave, that you never allow your faithful to suffer oblivion. You, O Lord, have taught us the way of life. Through you, our refuge, we gain eternity. Let us say. With the passing of Allan Tenenbaum, a kind and beloved man, one whose spirit brightened and cheered the lives of all who knew him, is now gone. And our community is enveloped in sorrow. Indeed, we share the common grief that is passing. There's not only his wife of 60 years, Sherry, who actually met Allan. She was but 12 years old and was together with him ever since, who mourns the separation from her devoted partner in love and life. It is not only his children, Todd, Tracy, and Trisha, grandchildren, Sarah and Ryan, Blake and Brooke, Harry, Jack of blessed memory, who's watching from above, and Gracie, who mourned the loss of their guide and inspiration. It's not only close personal friends, we'll hear from a few of them in just a few moments, who feel the heavy loss of a trusted friend of impeccable character and trustworthiness. It's not only a synagogue and its rabbi who are saddened that a prince of a man, a wonderful Jew, is no longer with us. It is all of us gathered here this morning in this sanctuary that 25 years ago, Allan was part of the team who worked so diligently to build. We all feel a deep loss today. In a vivid and memorable statement, our sages teach, Kol hamorit ma'ot al adam kasher, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sofran u'merichan b'veit Kedusha. The tears shed at the passing of an Adam kasher are so precious in the eyes of God that God counts each one and stores them in special treasures. Many of us may have noticed a rather strange phrase to describe the person as Adam kasher, a kosher person. Normally, you would find the phrase Adam gadol, a great man, or maybe Adam chashuv, an important man. They use the word Adam kasher, an unusual phrase which, when it comes to a human being, is virtually untranslatable. We know what kasher means when it comes to food, but what does it mean when it applies to a person? What sort of man did the sages have in mind when they said that even God mourns his passing? I believe that Adam kasher refers to a person of integrity, a good man who lives his life with reverence for God, with closeness to family, and in service to others. He was a person who embodies one who found favor and good standing in the eyes of God and people. Allan Tenenbaum was such a man. He was in every respect an Adam kasher. I was on my way to meet Sherry and hopefully see Allan this past Thursday. No sooner had I pulled into the parking space, I got the phone call that Allan had passed away. This moment spurred. A visit with Sherry and Allan turned into a very different kind of visit with Sherry and the family in Allan's presence. I was warned by Todd that I know all the Facebook posts are going to be coming in, and they're all going to say accolade. And I thought that Todd was posturing. But it was true. If you survey the Facebook posts in response to what Todd had put down announcing his dad's passing, every single one of them could not be effusive enough about the kind of person that Allan Tenenbaum was. More than a few said, I always loved talking to your dad. He did enjoy talking to everyone. He valued everyone. Everybody mattered, is how the family explained it to me. Others talked about how joyful and how cheerful he always was, and how he was a mentor. Maybe he didn't seek to be a mentor, but in his interactions with people and in the way he positioned himself, he ended up being the mentor to many. From his roots on the west side, attending the Hebrew Educational Alliance there, with the almost standard trajectory of schools, Colfax Elementary, Lake Junior, and North High. And his bar mitzvah at the Hooker Street shul, and no one can really tell me why that happened. He went to CU Boulder, and he made a career for himself as, depending upon who you ask, as a developer. He worked for Cooper Investments, and He was involved in gold key homes. And in thinking about those three aspects of his professional life, I thought he couldn't have picked better words because they all describe him. He was a developer. He developed himself. He developed others in mentorship. And he developed a wonderful family and a network of friends. He did invest, not only in himself. He was very fond of saying that money was not the most important thing. It was doing things right that was important. Things were not important, but people were important. And his investment in the way he lived and the way he interacted with others proved that. And he certainly did create a gold key home. For all of his family, for his children who could not stop saying enough nice things about the amazing dad that he was. The grandchildren with whom he had a wonderful relationship, who are certainly going to miss him. It didn't really make a difference who you were. One story they told me, and I'll conclude with this, I'm going to steal their thunder. That one day he was at a local eatery, and somebody was witnessing a number of interactions that he had with many people at this eatery. Servers, the proprietors, other guests. And all of a sudden, a woman approaches him and says, I don't know who you are, but I think I should. And that really did encapsulate Allan Tenenbaum. I knew him in many different ways over the past 20 plus years. He was a longtime member of our synagogue, and he was a member of our board, and as I said, we are sitting in a sanctuary that in large measure, behind the scenes, he was responsible for creating. I thank him for that. We all thank him for many of the other things that we all know about him in our individual ways. And with your permission, I'm going to call first on two very close friends of his to speak. Dr. Roddy Brown is going to come forward, and then Dick Fleischman is going to say a few words. They traveled the world and life together with Allan, and please give them your attention.
Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know us, we are Ronnie and Roddy. Better known as Ronnie Girl and Ronnie Boy. Well, this is a very difficult time for us. We have lost a dear, loving, special, sweet, amazing, and Allan has been a part of my life as long as I can. My brother Ricky, of blessed memory, was best friends with Allan Poe. Allan spent a lot of time in our house. He and Ricky did a lot of crazy things together, including taking my grandfather's Model A Ford out for many rides. They were only 14 years old. Allan treated me just like a little sister. I loved him not only as a friend, but as a brother. I used to love when he picked me up on his water scooter to take me. Allan was such a big part of my whole family. He called my mom Book and my grandfather, Grandpa My heart goes out to Sharon, Tracy, and Mike, Jared, and Bob, as well as all of my friends from me. What a beautiful family. Past couple of years have been very rough on the family. They have been through a lot. I am hoping that knowing Allan is in peace will be good. I know he very and precious Jack will be looking down on the earth together. Sherry, dear, please know I will always be there for you. Rest in peace, dearest Allan. My heart breaks from the husband. As he lost his very best friend. He now shares his life.
We had many years together with classmates and roommates. We attended Colfax Elementary for the grade of 7, and junior high, Humber Educational Alliance, North High School, and Colorado University. We also had many trips together, and we to Mexico, Caribbean, France, Austria, Germany, Sweden, Scotland, England, Germany, Florida, Russia, Denmark, and Alaska, as well as Las Vegas, Vail, Phoenix, and Tucson. Every Saturday, Allan and I play golf in the shelter. We would have to work. And on Sundays, we played with Sherry and Ryan. Allan was as honest as the day is long. However, he and I did belong to the Gondola Scooter Club and the Midnight Auto Sales. Hubcaps mysteriously appeared and were buried in the gullies of West End. Allan was always there. We played racquetball at 9 o'clock every night, so I could stay up late enough to pick up Kim at the playhouse after each performance. Sherry and Allan returned early from their honeymoon to be in our wedding. Both of them were always there. Allan had a philosophy: never pass up the bathroom. This was due to a large prostate. This philosophy became critical when we entered the town of Bisbee, Sweden on motor scooters. Allan announced with great urgency that he had to relieve himself. We went into a local jewelry store and I asked the salesman, "Do you have a bathroom?" "Do you have a bathroom?" I said, "What about a John?" He said, "John?" I said, "Really?" He said, "Really?" Allan looked at me and said, "I really have to take a piss." The salesman says, "Piss on it." Those of you who knew Allan well knew that he loved the shop, and consequently, he dressed immaculately. He was also known for a few off-color jokes that I can't repeat for example here. Allan might be dead, but never be forgotten. I personally will never find such a devoted friend again. Rest in peace, bro.
Rabbi said I better write this out. And the rabbi called me Thursday afternoon and asked if I said he'd been meeting with the family, and he asked if I might want to say a few words at the funeral. I told him I had to think about it because I was rather numb at that particular moment. And I didn't really know I might be able to contribute. I was thinking, what do you say about someone who's been a very close and dear friend for 55 years? How do you guys somebody like that? And I thought the best way might be to talk about things that were special between Allan and I. So let me tell you about my relationship with Allan. As many of you know, and some of you don't, our family started a tradition many years ago when we would get together on Sunday nights for dinners. The togetherness involved 9 people originally: Allan and Tracy and their 3 kids, Joanne and I and our 2 kids. Around 5 o'clock every Sunday night, either I would call Allan or he would call me and say, "Where would you want to go?" And we would pick only the finest places: the Bonnie Gray Tavern, the Red Robin, the California Pizza Kitchen, only the finest. And we would go there, and you get the idea. And as our families expanded, so did our Sunday night dinners. Friends of our children heard about our dinners and mysteriously began showing up on Sundays so they could come to dinner with us. On any given Sunday, we might have up to 18 people or more at dinner. But the point of the story is that Allan and I would sit next to each other every Sunday night, and we would marvel at how well our families got along with each other, how they were growing, and how they were maturing. We would look at each other and smile, proud of the gathering, and happy to be able to sponsor. Another Sunday night tradition between Allan and I was Curb Your Enthusiasm, which aired later that evening. We would go to our respective homes after dinner, watch Curb, and either I would call Allan or he would call me, and we would rehash the show, and we would begin laughing over and over and over again. And I think Sherry enjoyed our repertoire as much as we did. Another tradition that Allan and I had that was rather unique involved Yom Kippur. Every Yom Kippur, when we would go home from services in the afternoon, Allan would come over to my house, and we would go for an hour's walk along the Highland Canal. It was very quiet, it was very peaceful, and just very pleasant to walk alongside him and share memories. I didn't know it at the time, but one year Sherry called and said Allan will not be able to meet me. I guess it was the beginning of his illness. I think everybody knows that Allan's, when he became ill, his favorite restaurant was the Pancake House. And I'm sure others will talk about that. I would make arrangements, as many of you did, with Sherry to pick Allan up and take him to breakfast. But what you probably don't know is the second half of the ritual. We would walk across the parking lot to Homer Reed's men's store, so Allan could look at the merchandise and say hello to Brooks Whitney, who's here today. And when we left, we were walking back to the car, he would say to me, "He's a nice guy." I think the final thing I want to tell you about Allan is something that Rabbi briefly alluded to, but this beautiful sanctuary was really because of Allan. When we made the decision to create a new sanctuary and social hall, when we formed the committee to raise the money, when we hired the architect, when we hired the contractor, when we hired the project superintendent, we knew that we needed someone from the inside to oversee this construction on behalf of the BMHDJ. And Allan stepped up for that position. I don't know if he volunteered, but he took on the job, and for the entire length of the construction, which was well more than a year, he met every Friday morning at the synagogue with the general contractor and the project superintendent to make sure that the construction went exactly the way it was supposed to. He handled all of the details that matter. And this beautiful sanctuary, where we today remember our good friend, is a tribute to Allan. His name should be on a plaque someplace, and I think it probably. To close, the last time Allan and I had our late morning breakfast when I drove him back home, Sherry was waiting for us in the parking lot. As he got out of the car, which he had a little difficulty doing, He hesitated, and he reached over, and he patted me in my arm, and he said, "You're a good guy." Then he got out of the car and was standing next to Sherry, and he said to her, "He's a good guy." That's my last warm memory of my friend, and that's how I choose to remember him. With a big smile on his face and love in his heart. My friend Allan. Thank you.
Please give your attention to Allan's children who are going to share some personal anecdotes about their father.
My dad was a great dude. He really was. My dad was an amazing human being and a great dad. What you all saw personally and professionally was the way he was at home. One of my first memories was when I first started to play baseball. My dad would take me out to the park and practice, and I remember I was struggling to hit the ball. My dad taught me to keep an eye on the ball and how to stand. And the very next game, I hit the ball between first and second base in shallow right field. I ran to first base, coach told me to go to second. They threw the ball to second, the second baseman missed it. Go to third, I ran to third. They threw the ball to third base, and the guy missed it as well. And then I ran home and scored. For a 7-year-old, that was a home run. But most important, I was full of confidence thanks to my dad's talent. Then I remember my dad going to California to meet with the AMC people when building the theater at Tiffany Plaza. And when he came home, he gave us the best present any dad could give his kids: free movie passes. Tracy, Trish, and I felt like we won the lottery. Our dad was a diva. And during this time, it was also a treat to go to a show at the turn of the century. For those that don't know, it was a nightclub with weekly performances. We got to meet Jerry Lewis and a few other famous people during that time. And I remember my dad going off to play tennis with Tony Bennett, who at that time I had no idea who he was. So, as we got a little older, high school age, one question we always had a hard time answering on forms and applications in high school was, what does your dad do? What's his occupation? The only answer we knew, and I've only heard it in a few movies like The Godfather, Goodfellas, and The Sopranos, which is Mike's right-hand man. I'm sure that made some of the teachers a little uncomfortable, and you know I would never use that to my advantage. Really, my fondest memories of sneaking out of my room to watch National Taxi with my dad downstairs. Louis De Palma, Danny DeVito's character from Taxi was my dad's total sense of humor. As we'd be watching TV, probably every 6 months or so, or if I brought up something about school, it was time for my dad to pull out the North High School yearbook. There was a time that if you went to North, I knew what page you were on. I never complained about it because he was so proud of his stories as a teenager, and I loved hearing them. It was like the movie The Outsiders was based on the true stories of two Jewish West Siders, Allan, Tenenbaum, and Ron Brown, and their gang riding their best friends, causing havoc throughout the West Side of Denver. I love those stories. I never got sick. But in all seriousness, my dad was my hero. Most of my life is modeled after him. He started playing racquetball, and I started playing racquetball. He was in the real estate development business, and I got into the real estate development business. I watched him on various sports, I got on various sports. I spent a lot of time with my dad growing up, and he was definitely an amazing role model. Although I was in the real estate development, the one thing I never accomplished was the relationship that mirrored my dad and Mike Cooper, which I think lasted about 44 years. The level of loyalty and trust they had for one another was incredible. Personally and professionally, we had some great family times with Cooper as well, and I really miss those days. I can honestly tell you my dad never used his status when talking to people. He treated a busboy just like he would have treated a billionaire. Everyone mattered. I will tell you, dementia sucks. However, it was never a hardship for me to spend time with my dad going through this. I still love his energy and his unique mannerisms. They're unique, right? I want to thank all our family and friends who helped along the way. There's no better compliment and testament to the amazing relationship my dad had than calling my mom to see if I could take Dad out, and she tells me he can't because the group of guys are taking him to Colorado Springs to the Olympic Museum, or he can't because mom is doing something with him, or Dick or Hesher taking him out. And there are many other examples, just to name a few. With dementia, it's so easy to run from the hills and just disappear because most likely you won't remember, but pretty much everyone stepped up and helped my mom and our family. I can't thank you enough. It made my dad feel like his world was making sense. I also need to mention how amazing, caring, and thoughtful, to the point that became like a part of our extended family, the entire staff in the Pancake House. If you guys are here, we cannot thank you enough for all your help and support. The staff at the Pancake House made it a safe place for us to go with my dad until we had to put him through a care facility. My dad was there with a different combination of family and friends, 6 to even 7 days a week sometimes. Just an amazing group of people. Maybe we can create an Allan Tenenbaum Day at the Pancake House. I've learned that people, I just want to end with this word from, I've seen it a lot on Facebook and social media, and every time I read it, I think about it. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. My dad, even with dementia, made everyone he touched feel important and valued throughout his life, and he never asked for anything in return. Love you and miss you, Dad. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tracy. I'm the middle one, special girl. My dad was the kindest person I knew. What you saw in public was exactly what he was in private. He was calm, he was level-headed, loyal, smart, respected, and always humble. He dressed very well, and he took pride in his family. He loved us, and he was never afraid to say it. My dad was a creature of habit. He played racquetball at tennis world after dinner every night. He liked his wallet in a certain order, and when Trish and I got home from dates, he would always wait up for us, sitting on his chair with a popsicle in hand. He loved his one-liners, like when we go to a Chinese restaurant, he'd open his fortune cookie and say, "Help, I'm locked inside of a fortune cookie cup." Another strong memory I have of my dad is when he would drive me to college in Arizona. We'd load up my car, throw in a few snacks, and set the cruise control at 54 miles per hour. We were off. He drove so slow. I couldn't wait for him to fall asleep when I was not trying to drive. He showed up for us. He was there to give us advice, which is always take the high road, which, as many of you know, that's very good for me. Even when we were moving him his stuff out of his room yesterday, the director came up to us and said, every single prospective resident that she gives a tour to knows who my dad was. He was the first person to call when anyone was looking to buy or build a house. He could pinpoint water damage, cracks, poor craftsmanship, foundation issues, and you name it. He did it with a smile on his face, and he was truly happy. My dad always treated us fair. When we were growing up, it was my turn to go to the Bronco game, even though I know he probably would have rather preferred to go to Tom. He took me happily, and he didn't get mad when my coat would fall through the wooden slats at the old man's house. I actually never saw my dad now, except for once. One Thanksgiving in LA, my nephew Jack, we slept I never saw him mad except that one Thanksgiving in LA with my nephew Jack. We slept all 15 of us in the park, which was not around the corner. We played a game of family football. 5 minutes into the game, Jack got mad, took the football, and ran all the way home. We were all just standing there, and my dad was not happy. I think that was it. For the past 3 years, I got the pleasure of spending Wednesday afternoons. We called it Dad Day. We did the exact same thing. We went to the Pancake House, where they knew him and loved him. Then we'd go get gas in a car wash. He would comment on the beautiful architecture of the Denver Tech Center. We'd go to Trader Joe's. He would love to push the cart behind me. When we got to the ice cream section, his face would light up. He always pointed out the ice cream cookie sandwiches that he loved. Then we'd go back to his house with some Judge Judy. But first we'd go into his closet. He'd show me his shirts, the new coat that my mom bought him, but he never wore. And we usually have the same conversations over and over. But I didn't care. Even doing mundane things were enjoyable. I just loved being with him. I'll always cherish my time I got to spend with him. I wasn't doing it for my mom or my dad. I was doing it for me. Up until a few days ago, he always wanted me to kiss, knowing I was someone important in his life. I will keep that with me forever. He taught me love, respect, kindness, grace, hard work, and to be humble. These are values I hope to live by, and I hope Mike and my kids will live by as well. I couldn't be prouder to be called Allan's daughter, and I will miss it. Love you.
Much younger daughter. My dad used to always say that I had two sets of parents, like me. My dad always wanted a Porsche, but when he was given the choice between a Porsche and another child, 2 years later, he decided to have me. The Porsche came when I was 13. My dad taught me life lessons I hope I instilled in my own kids. Always be yourself. We enjoy talking politics in a civil fashion, even though we never agreed on anything. Never saw eye to eye. Be loyal. There are friends of my dad's here that are from kindergarten. Be humble, be kind. Over the last several days, as you've heard and people have reached out to us, everyone has remarked how truly he was the nicest man, and I could not. Growing up, we always had extra friends at the dinner table, and my dad always made them feel welcome. Even if it was one of Tracy's friends who secretly just wanted to come see my dad. I think they were coming for Todd, they were actually seeing my dad. My father valued routines and was a creature of habit. He would start every day at Starbucks to the degree that when they saw his car pull up, his blueberry muffin and his coffee would be sitting there waiting for him. As it got older, his routine later became his iced tea and his grapes waiting for him at the pancake house. My father taught and stressed the importance of family and spending time together. This included our Sunday night dinners with the Fleischmans that started at parents 5. Father-daughter weekends, visiting me in college, Thanksgivings with all 15 of us in LA, family vacations. My father loved his grandkids and never hesitated going to their soccer games, baseball games, dance recitals, whatever. More than anything, my dad taught me to love. My parents are just 2 months shy of their 60th wedding anniversary and dated since my dad's bar mitzvah. As I look around and see my mom and my husband and my children, my siblings, my nieces, my nephews, aunts, uncles, so many cousins that are here. I admire and cherish the family that he helped with. Thank you, Dad. I love you. I miss you.
I'm gonna call up the grandchildren and speaking on their behalf. Lake.
To describe what Zadie meant to us is nearly impossible to put into words. Yet when speaking about his character, it is easy to describe the man he was. Caring, loving, humble, gentle, sweet, funny, patient, and warm. Even easier to describe is how it made you feel. Seen, accepted, comfortable, secure, loved, confident, strong, proud. Zadie dedicated his life to building. To this day, I associate him with building. We have fond memories of him helping us build Lincoln log cities in his living room, towering Lego skyscrapers around his condo, heading out to the water and sanitation board meetings to build new neighborhoods, letting us wear his construction helmet, and even admiring the engineering feat of I-25 from his balcony. He was always a builder. Even when we broke stuff, and we broke a lot of stuff growing up, especially broke. Even when we broke stuff, Zadie would calmly remind us that it was just stuff, and stuff can always be rebuilt. He had a patience that was truly unmatched. But it was the relationships he built with his family, friends, and community that were always the most impressive. I remember going out for our weekly Sunday night dinners and thinking my grandpa was a movie star. I swear he knew everyone in the restaurant, and they would go out of their way to come by and say hi. And if Zadie didn't know them, Todd for sure did. He had a deep personal relationship with everyone, and he treated them as if they were family. The relationships weren't just with friends either. We'd walk into the pancake house or Starbucks, and Zadie would be greeted immediately in the morning by a staff who was ordered on the top of their head. 3-shell crepes and powdered sugar with nice tea. Even when he was in an assisted living and unable to articulate words, he still was able to build a bond with the nurses and other residents there. When I was visiting the other week, one of the residents asked me where his friend Allan was. This man couldn't even remember which room we lived in. We still recognized Zadie as a friend. However, I think it's the relationship he built with our grandmother, Abby, that illustrates truly how skilled of a builder he really was. In addition to being perfect, Abby is not the easiest material to work with. Yet Zadie knew from an early age that she was the love of his life. Over the next 60 years, Zadie and Abby built one of the most beautiful relationships I've ever had the pleasure of witnessing. Even as Zadie's memory declined, I remember during a visit to his memory care facility, Abby was badgering him, asking if he knew who she was, to which he responded, "That's my girl." They are the epitome of love and serve as a striking example. When you find your life partner, you hold them tight. These last few years have been difficult. Watching your hero slowly decline to the point where he doesn't recognize you anymore is immensely painful. Dementia is a terrible disease and can completely change you, often stripping away their best qualities to become someone who could be angry, stressful, or even violent. But not Zadie. If anything, his calm and gentle demeanor was reinforced during these final few years. He was still patient with us grandkids, sharing with us old photos, showcasing the squirrels that would come up to his balcony daily. And he would love to go on detailed and lengthy tours around his closet where he exhibited his favorite shirts and shoes. His love for his grandkids outlasts his dementia, and we know will continue to last beyond his physical presence. It is also reassuring to know that he won't be without his grandkids at death. The far too recent and painful passing of our brother and cousin Jack comes with the silver lining that they will have each other and will not be alone. After recently learning how much of an athlete Jack was from his detective ceremony, hopefully they can play football together with more civility than they did when they were kids. Although this year has brought us many challenges, it has come with a lesson to never take your loved ones for granted. We are grateful to have had the opportunity to know and love such wonderful people in our family. And although the world may not be as colorful without them physically present, their impact on our lives will continue to be felt and shape the people we want to become. We will dearly miss our role model, our builder, our friend, our Zadie.
It's tempting to think that Allan was robbed of much over the past number of years due to that illness over which he had no control and no hope of overcoming. After listening to the members of the family and his friends, I hope it's obvious that it is we who have been robbed by his passing. And Sherry, I'll just say that you were like the Nancy to his Rob. You were his protector. You kept things dignified. You were the gatekeeper. And you allowed the family to come together. You allowed him to live out his days with as much joy and as much interaction with others that he knew and loved as possible. You and the family were the angels that made his final years and final days just a little bit more bearable. If not for you, it's for me. Tehei nishmatot tzara b'tzara chayim, may his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. May Allan Tenenbaum ever rest in peace. Let us also. Amen. We ask everyone to please rise for a memorial prayer. O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure. To the soul of Allan Howard Tenenbaum Avraham, the son of Chaim Zelik and Chaya, who has gone to his eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you to remember all the worthy and righteous deeds he performed in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. The Lord is certainly his portion. May he ever rest in peace. Let us say, amen. Please be seated for a few instructions. Following the conclusion of the service, the interment is going to take place at the Mount Nebo Memorial Park with clear instructions as to how we're going to get there. And following the interment, a period of Shiva will commence, and it's going to be held at Shirley's home at 7000 East Quincy Avenue, number E 415, in Denver, Colorado. The gate may be open when we get there, but if not, you can use door code 4232. Pound 4232. Okay. All right, I thought it was a hashtag. What do I? Shiva will run today after the interment until 5 p.m. and then again from 6 p.m. until 8. There'll be a minyan this evening at the house at 6:30. Tomorrow and Tuesday from 2 p.m. till 5 p.m. Then a break, and then again from 6 to 8 for the minyan each of those evenings at 6:30. Your presence, your visits, your coming to the minyan would be a wonderful tribute is very important. Let's give your attention to Jim Cohen for just a few instructions.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude our service here at the BMH BJ congregation. We will have an interment at Mount Eagle Memorial Park. We do have an escorted procession today. So if you'd like to join us at the cemetery and in our procession, we will ask you to return your cars as quickly as possible. Have your headlights on and the hazards that will help the escorts identify you as participants in that procession. Please don't allow any outside traffic in. Do pay attention because it's a lot of stop and go. We are going to use this west exit of the synagogue parking lot for the procession. If you're not going to the procession, if we can ask you to give way to those who are and ask you to travel east through the parking lot if you park right there. If you're on the east side, that's okay too. If you're on the east parking lot and wish to be in our procession, we are going to have an escort on the south corner here at Center Avenue in Monaco. So if you have your headlights on and your hazards, they will get you in our procession. If I could ask you to please refrain from speaking with the family, trying to express your condolences. If you see them in the restroom or the foyer, it will delay their process of getting to the cemetery. At this time, if I can invite the pallbearers forward, ask everyone to rise and remain in their places as we support the family of Cassie.
Tina de Sofedo de la Vida,